I am more nervous today than I've ever been before a talk. What you're going to get is the first presentation of this presentation ever, and most likely the last. And because I do have incurable cancer, and I wanted to be here, and I wanted to try to think, what could I say, you know, that could make a difference. The frail elderly have been my focus all my career, entire career. And I even took time out and got a nursing home administrator's license because I wanted to be validated. So I want to tell you this story. I got to get over my nervousness, though, which is very unusual, as you probably know. So I'm going to tell a story about it. It will help you. Some of you have heard this before, probably Stephanie and I know Bob. I had this friend with Southwest Airlines, and I was talking to him, and he's the director of, he was then, the director of fun. And I think that's why Southwest Airlines is so successful, is because they have a director of fun. And he gave a talk once, and I was telling him how nervous I sometimes get, and he said, "David, it's easy. If you get nervous right before they introduce you, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror and say, hey, it's going to be good, it's going to be okay, it's going to be all right. And then go out and give your talk." I said, "Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that." And kind of forgot about it. Until I was in Wisconsin, matter of fact, Madison. 600 people at this luncheon, and I've been invited to be a guest speaker, and they're volunteers, and I'm nervous. And this hostess comes up and says, "David, are you ready?" And I said, "Well, I need to go to the bathroom." And so I go down, and and I decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. So I walk down the bathroom, and I walk in, and I think it's empty. So I look at the mirror, and I thought, I'm going to do this. And out loud, because, I thought I was the only one there. And I looked in the mirror and I said, not knowing how to do this, I said, okay, hey, no, hey! This is going to be good. This is going to be okay. This is going to be all right. And just at that moment, this guy flushes his toilet in the stool, out in the stall, and I'm frozen. I'm just frozen. He walks out of the stall and he walks behind me and he says, "I hope it is." And I know he thought I was getting ready to go to the bathroom. So I did this little bit. Remember, Chris? I said I got to go to the bathroom. I did it. Except I do it real quick these days. So, hey. So you can use that, and so I give you that gift. It might be the best takeaway. So I'm thinking, what can I say that might make a difference? So I title this, it's possible I could die in a nursing home. I was raised in actually at one point, 4-generation family. My great aunt was first. She died in my arms in a nursing home. Then my grandmother died in my arms at age 99. Nursing home, I was closest to her. I'm sorry, my grandfather was first. I was with him when he died. Then my great aunt. No, my great aunt, then my grandfather. Then my grandmother, same thing. And my mother in my own facility, so to speak. At Heartland Health System, I was executive vice president in charge of all the chronic care services. And so, I've seen people die, and I've been around a lot of it, and so have you. And it could be that I could end up in your home. And so I began to think, what is it I can tell you? From my perspective now, what do I really want you to know about me? So I've given this some serious thought. And what I'm going to share with you is not in a book in many places. It's parts of it maybe, maybe not. And maybe it's useful. And for maybe 2 or 3 of these things I'm going to share with you, there are solutions. But for most of them, there aren't, because they haven't been solved. And so I think my challenge is think about them. Because if you can solve these, you can take care of me. And a lot of people like me. So I began to think, how can I get into this? And so I thought of another context in my life. You do a lot of life review when you're facing the end of it. And I've been sober for 28 years. I quit drinking 28 years ago. That's 1984. I didn't quit for any moral reasons, so don't worry. AA saved my life, really. And at AA, you're not supposed to talk too much about it, but I'm going to tell you that when you have a newcomer to an AA meeting, everybody, if they know it's a newcomer, everyone in the group knows that they're going to say 3 things that meeting. They're going to say how it was, what happened, and how is it now? And everybody can tell you that story. Any alcoholic can tell you that story. Recovering alcoholic. And so I thought maybe I can use that kind of format here today. So I'm going to tell you what it was like, a little bit about, very quick, not a lot, about my own career and getting into this business of caring for the frail elderly. And then I want to share with you what happened, and that's the cancer diagnosis. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. And already here at this meeting, several of you, almost, I don't think there's a person in this room probably isn't affected in some way by this cunning, baffling disease, cancer, whether it's in your family or friends or colleagues at work. It's the second leading cause of death, and it's an insidious thing, and it's very expensive to cure, and then not cure. And so I want to tell you a little bit about my journey and what that has taught me that might be helpful. I don't think if that hadn't have happened, that I could put this together. You're not to cry. Okay. And I'm not either, okay? I can get through this. 40 years ago or so, I get this PhD and a lot of formal education. And boy, I thought I was the smartest kid that ever walked the face of the earth. I thought I was God's gift to aging. Because had this PhD in sociology with a minor in gerontology, one of the first. And I was part of this inter-university training program where people from all over the country got together and learned about this new discipline, aging. And this was in the 60s. And I loved those times. We had good times. And they were really good. And so, people in my own family that reared me, got old. And so I get this phone call, actually still at the University of Missouri finishing up. And my grandmother said, David, Aunt Patty's dying. She's in a nursing home. I said, how come I didn't know this? How long has she been in the nursing home? Well, she's been there about a year. Oh. And we just are at wits and don't know how to communicate with her. And you got all this education. And we'd like for you to come down and teach us, help us with Aunt Patty. I'll do it. I mean, I am the superhero. I am ready to spring into action to save the day. And I was young then. This would have been 1968. I won't tell you how young I was. But I was actually, figured that out. Anyway, in the 20s. And I drive right to the nursing home. And I had not been in many nursing homes up to that point, if any. And so I parked the car, and I walk into the nursing home. This nursing home was the kind where everyone gathered at the front door. You know, our residents gather where the action is, right? And whether it's at the nurse's station or at the elevators, if it's a high-rise, or or some other space, but they're right there. And a lot of old nursing homes are like that. You walk in, boom, there you are. And I guess I wasn't ready for what I call now the gauntlet, where everybody has their line. You're in the lineup, you know what I mean? They're lined up there. And you walk in, and I must have done what most families do that have rarely been into a home. I walked in and I went, oh God. I'd love to catch that on film. People just aren't prepared for it. And I call it the gauntlet because, you start down through there, and every now and then an arm comes out, Hey! Hey, but would you talk to me? Right? Right?
Yes.
Talk to me, buddy. Hey, I'd like to listen to my story. Hey, where are you going? Hey, to hell with you. And wait for the next one. And a lot don't have this ability, and so they'll scoot the chair out in front of you and block your path. You ever had your path blocked, right? And if they can't do that, they do it with their eyes, and that's the killer. You walk in and you make the mistake of looking at them, and they're screaming silently, come talk to me. And you do, you finally, I did that once. I walked up and I thought I was going to be there 3 hours. And I got down on my knee, which is worse. I said, what is it? She said, I got to go to the bathroom. Nurse, this person needs to go to the bathroom. Okay. Took 10 seconds. But where was I? Well, I made it through the gauntlet and made it back to my aunt's room, and there she was. Skilled care. She had Alzheimer's disease, what then they called organic brain syndrome. We know it was Alzheimer's. Advanced. She had no idea who I was. This is my first experience with dementia in general, and Alzheimer's in particular. And, I go up to her and Patty, it's David. David. Nothing, of course. I'm thinking, boy, these flowers are pretty. Look at the nice view you have here. Nothing. Nothing. I tried a few other things. I stayed maybe 7 or 8 minutes and left. I got to the car, and I just sat there. And I thought, man, David, you've got a disease called PhD-itis. You think you know everything. You don't know anything about aging, and particularly the frail elderly. And I decided right then and there I had to figure out how to get over this uncomfortableness that everyone experiences. Everyone. Neither me nor any of you in this room went to school saying, I want to be a nursing home administrator. I don't think. Or I want to work in a nursing home. I want to be a director of nurses. I want to be an MDS coordinator. Woo! That's a good one. And goody, I can start out as a CNA. Not any of us. And so I decided, what am I going to do? So I started teaching this course called The World of Nursing Homes. And I taught it for 18 years. And my students and myself spent long hours in wheelchairs, in jerry chairs, ate the pureed food. I started spending the night, and with Sally Terman, wrote a book about all those experiences in 1988 called The Human Factor in Nursing Home Care. And I got comfortable about the third day in a nursing home where I decided to spend the night. Because I went in and no one knew that I was not a patient, resident. And so they had my room number, they had a chart, full care, you know, total care. 3 o'clock in the morning, everyone flushes toilets. I can tell you that. I learned a lot. 6 o'clock in the morning, the nurses' aides come in and said, "Well, honey, you ready for your bath?" And I'm thinking, I'm clean. I'm thinking, bath? And it didn't, you know, they weren't waiting for any kind of answer. And they were pulling the sheets off the bed. They transferred me into the wheelchair. They threw a sheet over my head. I felt like a, you know, Ku Klux Klan, you know, person. I had this sheet over me, and then they're wheeling me down the corridor on the way to what I now call the chamber. And back then, they did not have the walk-in Whirlpool baths, okay? Back then, they had the Whirlpool lifts, chair lifts. And that's where, you know, a chair is on a hydraulic pole, got it? And the water's behind. And the first thing they did was to take all my clothes off, which wasn't much. It was just this sheet and a gown. And I'm naked, and they put me on this cold plastic chair. It was February. And this nurse's aide steps back and hits the button. And boy, up I go. And I'm up there, and she pauses, and she stands back, and she says, "You know, I wonder why more people don't use this." And I said, "What?" I said, "You gotta be kidding. I'm 10 feet off the floor. My head's about to go through the ceiling. I'm naked as a jaybird, and you're looking at my privates." And with that, she hits the button. Out over the water and down. And then through the wash rag and said, "Wash yourself." And I did. And somehow, after that, I was comfortable in nursing homes and have been ever since. And I've been at it and loved it. And for 1 year, I actually was an assistant administrator in a nursing home. That was fun. And I've had the luxury of being associated with Bob. And I met Bob in 1974. So we go way back. And it was in the American College of Nursing Home Administrators. And I traveled, thanks to Bob and others, and gave talks in about 26 different states. Advocate mostly for CNAs. I'm a huge advocate for CNAs. But I won't go into that. And even at the university, in the Department of Family Medicine, I have some fourth-year residents who wanted to learn more about the nursing home, and I said, "Well, you're going to have to spend a day in a wheelchair." Really? And I've had them in nursing homes even as recently as last year. And I'd always go up behind them, you know, and when they didn't know it, and would pull the wheelchair back. And they would scream, and I said, "You don't want to ever do that." Most of those residents, physicians, thanked me at the end and said, "You know, thank you, David. I know that I never want to work in nursing homes ever again." It's tough work. It's really tough. I agree what Joy said this morning. I have the utmost respect for all of you who do this important work. So, September the 14th, I went in for steroid shots in both knees. I've got bone against bone. And this is to put off knee replacements. And it's worked. 50% of the people that do this, it works. For me, it works. And I get shots every 3 or 4 months. And so it's just that regular routine appointment with the primary care doc, who is also my best friend and also the chair of the Department of Family Medicine. And he gave me my shots, and I said, Steve, I've been shaving now for about 2 months, and I've been this little growth here. You can't really see it, but I know it's there because every morning my razor goes over it. And I thought it was just some scar tissue from a previous surgery, but what do you think? What do you look at that? And he did his thing, and he said, yeah, David, I think you've got 2 swollen lymph nodes. I said, is that serious? He said, well, you know, lymph nodes get swollen. We'll do a CAT scan. We'll look at them. Did a CAT scan and did some x-rays, and sure enough, there were not 2, but there were 5 lymph nodes that were very swollen. And I knew then that something was up. Nothing was definitive, but I knew something was up because all these physicians around whom I work and tease and have fun and they're good friends, they kind of quit teasing, and there wasn't as much fun. And it's like they know something I don't know. They suspect something. So we did a needle biopsy, and that was not definitive. And then we did an open biopsy where they went in and took one of the lymph nodes out, and sure enough, it had metastasized to the lymph nodes, and it was cancer for sure, squamous, fast-growing cancer cells. Still did not know the source, or to where if it had spread, where or if. And so 2 days later, had a PET scan, and sure enough, they found right behind my nose a little tumor. They call this nasopharyngeal carcinoma, and it had metastasized to the lymph nodes and then to the bone. Stage 4. And when I heard stage 4, my knees started shaking, because that's worse than the word cancer these days, because it really means not curable. And I thought, stage 4, yeah. And so we'll start chemo and radiation, maybe both, real soon. And I said, well, I will see about that. I just want you to know, you may be the quarterback, but I'm the coach. And I got a second opinion, and who suggested that I do the chemotherapy, not the radiation, because the radiation would have taken half my face off and my vocal cords. Can you imagine that? So I opted out for the chemotherapy. And so I need to tell you that and I was going to fight this thing.